Hello and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast. My name's Kevin Larney and this week we had Gary White from the Halfpenny Comedy Club in to tell us a story about the Baloobas tribe of the Congo, a documentary he'd been working on before COVID. Gary runs the comedy club with myself and Jason, and he gives out to us for not promoting the club enough, so there'll be a link to the Instagram, the socials, ticket sales, all that stuff in this episode. If you're ever in Dublin, you should come in and see some comedy. Come say hi to Gary. Tell him what a good job he did on this episode.
Woo! Love you, Gary.
See, he's got fans already.
Gary.
But if you're not in Dublin and instead you're in Belfast, then there'll also be a link to the tickets to the live show we're doing in the Sunflower on the 3rd of March. You can come see us live there with Darren Matthews. But other than that, this is a very fun episode. It was great to have Gary in to record with. So enjoy, and we'll chat to you soon. Good luck.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlo and Kevin the dog. Guide you through the ways of Shite.
You have to drive up to the barrier and it's
The one that said no Kevin Larney's.
no Kevin Larney's, you were being recorded, your license plate is being photographed and sent to the Gardaí now. You have to just drive up there.
Was the barrier to keep you out or the kids in?
I don't know. It didn't matter. I made
Either
it
way,
anyway.
it didn't work.
Yeah, also we do have a third voice on the podcast that we haven't introduced yet.
Oh yeah. It's Gary
Anyway, what are we
White.
talking about today? Gary White.
It's Gary White. You know him. You love him.
You know me from being previously mentioned on a number of podcasts.
Oh
offhand.
yeah. Yeah. He's the silent partner.
We like to do that on the podcast where they're like, the classic rules of like no in jokes, don't reference people that the audience don't know. Like
Yeah.
all of that's out the window.
Yeah.
First names only, no context.
Yeah, referencing videos we watched the day before, but not properly. Well, Gary's brought us a story. Well, actually, no, we mentioned you.
Yeah, you
recently
mentioned
on-
previously about I think you called it my granddad, but it was my great granddad.
Was it?
Yeah, it was my granddad's actually slightly related to this story.
Ah.
So it's like a long history in my family of military men.
Yeah.
And then there's me who stands in Temple Bar 4 nights a week, hassling English tourists to come watch some comedy.
Yeah. But you standing in Temple Bar, that's braver than any military outfit, I think.
Yeah, Kevin cut out something from the podcast when you were talking about your great grandfather. He was like the one person that got assaulted.
Yeah, there's
and-
an ICU over it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, why was that? Was he getting lippy? And Kev was like, what if he listens to it someday? I'm like, that's why I said it.
I cut out. There's a few things I cut out. I was like, it's the man's granddad.
I actually listened to it last week, and that was the only, so that was my great grandfather. And I have
Yeah.
another story about him that'll make another great podcast as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that's for another day.
Yeah, that was a great coincidence because I'd already started writing that one because it was Christmas time, and then you told us about it in the pub that day. Another coincidence is that this story you're going to tell us today seems to revolve around the Congo and Leopold, and I've just been reading about him for the last 2 weeks, getting ready for the Roger Casement episode.
Yeah, so Ireland, as we discovered earlier, or well, as I pointed out to Jason earlier, Ireland has a long history with the Congo.
Yeah,
Kind of stretching back to Casement and him discovering all the evil things Leopold did to the Congolese. But then it leads up to this peacekeeping mission, which was like Ireland's way of solidifying our position within the UN. And we have such a long history with them that nowadays O'Neill's make the Democratic Republic of Congo's football jerseys, their international football jerseys.
Yeah, I'll throw that up on the Instagram.
Yeah, throw it up, and they're all straight bangers.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
They are class, especially the ones with the leopard print or even the whole leopard's face on it. It's great.
that's class. Leopold, I will probably talk more about him next week, or I suppose do we have to talk about the founding of the Congo?
Yeah, so this story it takes place in 1960, when the when the Democratic Republic of Congo seceded from Belgium, and what was formerly the Belgian Congo.
Yeah,
And as part of that, another province within the Congo called Katanga, which was, I think their leader, his name is Tishambe, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he was a communist. No, he wasn't. He wasn't a communist. But they
He was a
feared
porn star.
he was a porn star. With a name like Tishambe, how could you not be?
Yeah.
Was that just his like Instagram handle? Tasham Bay.
Bay, B-A-E. That
Salt
is-
Bay.
Yeah, Salt
Yeah,
Bay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the weirder parts of a weird World Cup when like that man what was famous for doing a salt sprinkle on the internet had like
Yeah, got onto the pitch and was
Yeah.
like bugging Messi.
Took the trophy away from Christian Romero's child.
yeah,
Which is also highly illegal.
Yeah,
very
and
much so, but also he put those clips on his own Instagram. Like I saw that on his Instagram pages, the video of him like wagging his
Yeah.
finger at a child as he stole the World
It's
Cup.
pronounced
Like,
Wagyu.
Wagyu.
On a side note, do you know he speaks English with like a Limerick accent?
Mm.
Have you
That
ever
guy
he-
does?
Yeah,
Yeah.
have you ever heard him? There's
No.
videos of him saying avocado online.
But he pronounces Apple.
Avocado.
it. I didn't even know. I honestly didn't think he was more. I thought he was a photo.
Now the big man with the bag in his head talked about. He did an episode about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The bagman.
Yeah.
The bag man.
It's like my brother was teaching English in China a few years ago. I'm like, what poor fucking Chinese kids.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna come out with Dublin accent.
A real
big,
Carlo
big
accent.
thick Carlo accent, and I've been educated. Like I came.
That's a
not-
stretch.
Yeah.
yeah. At least I went to Dublin. My brother is like straight from the fields.
Well, that's the thing as well. Apparently, Vladimir Lenin spoke with a Dublin accent when he
Yeah,
spoke
I
in
heard.
English. I've tried to look it up, but it's really hard to find. You can only get clips of him speaking in Russian.
But
which
it's
is-
probably like a South Dublin. Yeah, I heard he got educated by
yeah,
some guy from Ranelagh.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, yeah, we'll talk more about the Congo. I started reading about Henry Stanley and all the expeditions they did out to the Congo, because I had a feeling he was Irish, but I think he might have been Welsh. He's famous for that. Do you ever hear that line of like,
He sounds like an accountant agency.
yeah,
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 sounds
he's
like
all
one of the
three
big
of them.
four.
Henry Morgan and Stanley. It was a fake name that I think he got off. Maybe the guy he got off was Irish. I don't know. But he's famous for that line, like Dr. Livingston, I presume. Did you ever hear that?
No,
No.
it's not that famous of a line.
It's pretty famous in probably English. Like Livingston was some famous explorer who went out and got lost in the Congo, and then Henry Stanley went out years later to find him.
Is
And
this
he
like,
came across him. He was like the only white man in the whole place. He
is
was
like
like,
Joseph Conrad? Like
That's what I was going to say. It sounds
Yeah.
like a line from Heart of Darkness.
it
Yeah.
could, yeah, it was probably inspired by that. But yeah, Joseph Conrad was out there. He was friends with Casement.
Look at all of us flexing on our Conrad knowledge.
Yeah, you kept trying to drop the names of Conrad's other books last week.
Didn't he make a sequel to Heart
Yeah.
of Darkness?
Oh yeah, and he just went straight for the hard end there.
Oh, did
That
he?
was
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that was before.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, the editors got to him.
What's
Oh,
it?
it has it in the name of the book?
Yeah.
The name of the book, yeah.
It's very. Oh, it's rough.
But sure,
yeah.
there's a hard end in the commitment as well.
Yeah, that's true.
In the
yeah.
book, anyway.
No, it's in the film, isn't it?
No,
it's
they
just
say
the blacks.
blacks
Of,
in
yeah,
the
that's
film.
true.
Yeah, but that famous.
Oh shit! That.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
which we never
whole-
mentioned in the
where the
van.
N words, the Irish are the N words of
Yeah,
Europe,
yeah.
and Dubliners are the N words of Ireland, and Northsiders are the N words.
Because
of
even
Dublin.
you can
Which-
see now that like people still say that whole like dialogue is very problematic now when they're saying like Ireland are the blacks of Europe.
Yeah,
Like, could you imagine?
but
Yeah.
that's like that was in the 1980s. As
Oh,
well. Like,
Roddy, your dialogue so snappy.
So, hey, snappy, hey.
snappy. But I think we talked about it in some other episode because it's such a stupid thing to say. It's such the blacks of Europe as opposed to like Portugal, Italy, Greece, anything in like Eastern Europe, like
No,
Czechs.
I think you're missing the point of the quote, though.
He was kind of like the soulful kind of
Where-
downtrodden.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that. You're a fucking idiot. And then even like the Dublin is the soulful heart of Ireland, and the North Dublin's the soulful heart of anywhere.
As a Bohemians fan,
I know,
that is
I know.
correct.
That is incorrect. When obviously the right answer is
Marley was
Dundalk.
in Daily Mount.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how else did we get Bob Marley there and Phil Lynott?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, tell us about the Baloobas, Gary.
Yeah, just ease into this racial minefield.
Yeah. So basically the backstory is as the Congo seceded from Belgium as a colonial empire, as a colonial dominion, as most of the countries did in the 50s and 60s, there was a succession crisis where the mineral rich part of the country, Katanga, was backed by European and US powers to secede in itself, but in a really backhanded Cold War kind of
Yeah.
way. If I'm correct in saying that the main government had left-leaning, like socialist tendencies, so
Mhm.
could have easily fallen to communists, whereas Dushanbe and Katanga, who were trying to succeed in their own right, would have been backed by the US. So there was a massive crisis then, civil war, and the government, the Congolese government, asked the UN to come in, and then that formed the first UN peacekeeping mission, which, as a neutral country in ourselves, is something that our national identity, our foreign affairs, I believe, is quite based around. You know, I think there's real pride in our neutrality.
There is. Well, it's also kind of, like Frank Aiken would have kept us out of the war. I imagine there's an element of like, you sit out 2 world wars. Hey, neutrality, that's us. We're not involved, and we're just here to keep the peace. And then as soon as they set up a peacekeeping mission, we're like, well, you kind of have to go now.
Yeah.
You can't sit this one out.
So the massive problem with it was, though, that our army, having not fought in the 2 world wars,
Yeah,
and the last war we fought in
was
the
against
war
ourselves.
was against ourselves,
Yeah.
and then before that was the War of Independence, which is about guerrilla warfare.
Yeah,
So we had going over there. They were massively under-equipped, ill-prepared, and really set up to fail. So like one of the first issues they had going out was they had like these I think they were called bull wool material. It's like a really thick, something that you'd wear down the Curragh maybe
right.
in winter
Yeah,
to go to the Congo,
yeah,
which is, I don't know if anyone knows, but
on
it's
the
in
equator.
Africa.
Yeah.
On the equator. So like the whole thing was a bit of a disaster. I
Mm.
believe that so the thing we're talking about is that I think the platoon that were in charge of the area in Katanga, that this ambush was the platoon that they were part of, or the battalion they were part of. There was whatever few, I think in the total there was 6,000 soldiers, so in each battalion maybe 300 men,
Mm.
and they had to look after an area twice the size of Munster, which is
Yeah, it's-
bonkers.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Congo is huge.
Oh, it's ginormous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But at least it's all flat land as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, and the sort of terrain that an Irish man with a woolen jumper knitted around his head would have a good grasp of.
Yeah, but so it's 2 times the size, the area that this group of 300 people say would have been.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's 2 times the size of Munster. You imagine pretty dense, like marsh.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's basically jungle.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so a lot of like marshy lands and trees and a lot
Yeah.
of small kind of villages and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
No major real infrastructure at the time.
Because I'm picturing Vietnam during the
Probably even worse
Worse.
than that again. Like no proper roads. I believe that the road that these guys were on, if you go on it now, it's like overgrown with trees and stuff like that.
Yeah. I know a friend of mine was going to go out there on his honeymoon years ago.
To the Congo.
Yeah. Himself and his wife were nuts.
I'd
but-
say so. Yeah.
They were going to go out and then, well, he was at the time, he kind of knew it might be a bit dodgy or whatever. And then there was 3 or 4 kidnappings over the 6 months leading up to it. So they called it off. I think they went to Ghana or something like that. But then looking at it, you're like,
I thought you were going to say, I've had enough now, I'm going to get out before they catch me.
yeah.
What a honeymoon.
Yeah. We're pushing it now. But yeah, but then looking at it, you're like, well, that'd be like if you're going to Europe and then there was 3 to 4 murders in, someone got murdered in Crumlin and then someone got murdered in Rome and then someone got murdered in like Oslo, and you're like, Europe's a bit too dodgy for me.
Apparently,
Like, it's huge.
a massive problem they have in the Congo at the minute is there's like a real distrust of aid workers.
Yeah.
So if you go down there as a humanitarian worker, you're got like a high price in your head, like then
Sure.
you get like murdered, and then a backlash to which was it Ebola, the Ebola crisis.
Yeah.
They had a massive resurgence of Ebola just before the pandemic, and there's like a massive problem with vaccines and stuff like that there as well.
Yeah, that was good that we got a taste of like what's happening and has been happening in Africa for the last 70 years at least. But how many Congos are there at the time of this story?
So there's there was the Belgian Congo, which became just the Congo,
Yeah.
and then this area, which was where all the minerals are based. So they would have used all those minerals for like copper. I think copper was the big one. So used a lot in construction. So whoever controlled that, either USSR or US, would have had an upper hand. And
It's good that the US, everyone was like, after World War II, no more colonialism. Everyone fuck out. We need these countries to play
move
Cold
over
War.
move over colonialism.
Yeah.
American imperialism is here to stay.
the hell out of here. We need these places.
Yeah.
But that's so. When does this story end with the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know when they formally changed their name though. I think
Yeah.
they became the Democratic Republic of Congo in the 70s at some stage.
Yeah. All right.
But when this civil war ended, I
No,
think it was
1960.
No.
That's what it is. Belgian Congo became independent as a republic, or not the Democrat. Maybe it's
Yeah, it became
the republic first.
I think
Yeah.
in my head it stands out 1972 it became the DCR, but I could be wrong on that.
Is that the year before we joined the EEC?
Well, yeah, it's 50 years of that this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Completely unrelated, but it's a good memory.
That's my job, just random tidbits.
yeah.
It's because my dad still calls the EU the EEC.
Does he?
To
Yeah.
this day.
Easy, yeah.
And it's not like it
We're
would have
getting
been.
fucked on fishing, man.
Yeah, he would have been around way
all
longer
the
for all of the
changes,
other
yeah.
time. It's just that he still has it in his head.
Yeah.
Was it the EEC, then the EC, and then the
The
EU
European Economic Commission
community?
community?
And then I think it just shortened it to the European Community,
Like, yeah.
and then the European Union.
I bring this up every time we talk about the EEC, but in Dundalk there's like a big gable wall on a house on the way into town, and you can still see like a faint spraying of like no EEC from back in the 70s when we were like,
It's like the time when there wasn't there like a forest fire or something like that in some part of I think Bray, and then they discovered the old era sign in the ground because for the Nazis when they were coming over, so that they saw that
So they
were
were
doing-
they didn't know not to bomb it.
We've
Yeah,
come too far. This is good old Ireland. What were we your random tidbits. At some point you have to mention that Ethiopia was Abyssinia at the time.
I have it wrote down as a note not to say it.
Good, okay.
I
We're
think
talking
it
about
was
a
Ethiopia by that stage, you know.
I suppose, yeah,
It's
after World War II.
1960,
Well,
yeah.
listen, I'll defer to the expert over there. He brought it up every episode for about a year.
Our Abyssinian correspondent over here.
I mentioned Africa, he'd be like, and would that be Abyssinia at the time?
So then, a massive part of our kind of eagerness to go over on this peacekeeping mission as well is that because of our neutrality, the first 10 years of formation of the UN, we kept trying to join, and were vetoed by the USSR.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, them little poxes over there, they didn't even join
Didn't-
in the war. They
yeah.
don't get to have any
Neutral,
fun.
yeah.
Was it just the USSR or was it a few? I thought a few people were like, you didn't do the war, you don't get the UN.
From what I've
Nowadays, it's popular to blame Russia for everything.
Yeah.
false flag operations.
Yeah.
And Ireland out of the EU. So yeah, I think overall we sent over 6,000 troops. My granddad was actually one of them. He served in Elizabethville in the Congo. We still have little bits of memorabilia, like a small bow and arrow and a jug in the house from the Congo. So
Yeah.
cool little bits.
Class.
He got a load of medals. But this particular story then, so what happened was these troops were in this area called Niemba, and there was a broken bridge on some river with a name I can't pronounce. It's very complicated. So they went to fix this bridge over the river, and
Just call it Kwai.
yeah, bridge over the river Kwai, and
Luayeye.
that's it. Yep, Luayeye. We'll go with that.
I could do it in the accent if you wanted, but I think that's
I'd
more
rather
yeah.
not. Yeah, is that also in Abyssinia?
I'm also I'm not again. I'm doubling down on not saying it.
So basically, there was 11 soldiers in total on this patrol, and 100 Baloobas warriors attacked them with clubs and poison-tipped arrows and spears, and killed 9 of them. 2 survived. So then Baloobas became synonymous. So basically, at the time, the Irish media reported that they had mutilated their bodies and physically ate their hearts, and they were cannibals. It was kind of, what's the way to put it, was a way to boost morale for what was obviously a very damaging
Defeat.
incident within the Irish army,
Yeah.
because there was a swelling of pride around our army going to be a peacekeeping mission. And as much of this is down to the disasters of the Irish Defence Forces, just leaving them so ill-equipped to cover such an area with not enough
Yeah.
resources. But these guys, they got killed. One of them survived for 2 days in the jungle on his own, drinking like rainwater off of leaves, with like poison in his body and like massive hallucinations.
Yeah.
So that Baloobas, when the Irish media reported that they were cannibals or whatever, Baloobas then became synonymous in Irish, probably lexicon is probably the right word, or
Yeah,
vocabulary, that it means like mad or unruly or something like that. Like
Yeah.
often you'd hear somebody say, "Jeez, did you see John last night?
He was
He
Baloobas.
was he'd 10 vodkas and 7 pints of cider."
And he started
he was-
firing bow and arrows.
He was Baloobas.
Baloobas, yeah. Is it a generational one as well? Because I'd associate it with my parents had said.
I was literally in Leeds last week, and one of the lads was like, "Oh, jeez, lads, I'm feeling Baloobas here."
Really? Yeah.
And I used to say it years ago until I discovered where they.
Yeah,
Where it
but
came
I've always associated with a Dublin thing.
Yeah.
That's I'm not sure. Yeah, well, most of the soldiers are actually from Dublin.
So you would have had access to newspapers at the time.
That's it.
That's true. You can't get them down in Carlow. You're not
No.
even now.
Although two of the
No.
men, so two of the lads in it.
Was it 2 or 1?
Two, I was well, yeah. I was kind of feeling like I'm.
Don't rush him now. You just learned that they have no newspapers. All of a sudden, you're like, what are the numbers? Is it 2? Is it the one with the curve on the top for the straight bit?
Is it when I do this with my fingers, or is it this one? That's great for an audio meeting.
Yeah.
No, it's 2. I suppose it's so Kevin Gleeson, Lieutenant Kevin Gleeson.
Yeah, I believe he was either the leader or second in command.
Yeah, the lieutenant. So I also don't know enough about the army to know what the lieutenant is.
Oh, as
Yeah.
somebody with an army family background, I should know. Yeah, no, I believe
The
Hugh
MP.
Gaynor from Blanchardstown was the kind of number 1, and then his second in command was Kevin Gleeson. But it could be the other way around. I could be wrong.
I know that sounds right.
And Gleeson was from Carlow.
Yeah, Gleeson's from Carlow. I think
They were sent in.
there's a
to-
plaque
they never
to
had a
him
chance.
down in Carlow. But having said that, I looked that up beforehand. I don't know where that plaque is, and no one in Carlow has ever told me about it.
Yeah.
Just God. We only care about Richie Kavanagh and Sean O'Brien.
I mean, you're hardly going to grow up and somebody's going to be like, "You go down there to that plaque."
Which
And
is
you,
at some
You
point,
don't understand this as a Dublin man who's got like a lot of things happening. In the smaller counties, if anyone did anything, you will get sent down to the plaque, or there'll be a road named after them or a school, and people will kind of know.
We've got a dolmen that has a plaque on it to Catherine Thomas.
Yeah.
who's Catherine Thomas?
See, you're in Dublin, so you
no.
wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know.
She's on the TV.
Was it Operation Transformation?
I don't know.
I think she was in that.
Apparently, you don't know either.
No, I don't really know.
Was
But I know she
It was
exists.
the travel show from years ago. Where
Yeah.
They just send her. They were just like, "Do you know what? It's a good-looking woman. She's from the country, so people in the country will like it." Let's just ship her off around the world, saying, "This is great."
Send her to the Congo.
Just send her to the Congo. But yeah, so one of the so 3 people got away. So I think there was 11 soldiers. 9 died. 8 died on the spot, and 3 got away. I think they killed 25 Balooba tribesmen. One of them got away, Anthony Brown, I believe, and he apparently got to a village. The story is he got to a village and he took every bit of money he had in the pocket. He got to a local Balooba village, took every bit of money he had in his pockets, and begged for them to get him help, and then they just beat him to death.
Yeah.
And it took 2 years to find his body, and it was buried in the village. But the story goes that Trooper Brown had stood over the other 2 men who escaped and said, "You guys have families," and then shot off his brain gun. It's like, "Use run, I'll hold them back." But apparently it's not true.
Did he just run off into the woods?
They all just ran off into the three guys who got away ran off into the woods.
But so Brown obviously doesn't survive.
He doesn't survive. He's later killed in the village.
Yeah. But they told that story about him.
So the Irish Defence Forces had posthumously awarded him their equivalent of the Medal of Honour.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, nobody who ever lived in the Irish Army ever got this medal. It's only people who've died.
Okay.
So you have to die in the Irish Army to get the highest award possible.
Yeah. Well, I guess
It's an award we give out when we really want to swell up morale.
That's
Yeah.
essentially it, yeah. And they kind of spun this story that, oh, what a hero he was. But there's no real truth in it. He just ran off. The teams are 18, 19-year-old fellas.
Yeah.
He ran off into the woods like the other 2 fellas that he apparently saved.
That's a good line though. You
It-
men have families.
Yeah, it's a
I'll
great
hold them off
line.
for
Yeah.
as long as I can.
Yeah, it's real like, get to the chopper, you
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
families.
We'll save a space for you. Yeah, don't bother.
In the history books.
You should make sure I get that medal.
You get back there. You get back there and you see your wife. You give her one from me.
You tell her to think of me.
Just once.
She already is.
What a way to go.
Yeah, so one of the other survivors, it kind of spent his whole life trying to debunk all these myths around it, but was like kind of shut down. I
Okay. So
believe his name was Tommy Lynch, if you want to look it up there. Thomas Kenny. Apologies. So Thomas Kenny had spent most of his life, one of the survivors, Thomas Kenny, spent most of his life trying to debunk the kind of myths around it. And one of them is the yarn spun by the Irish Army is not true at all. And this guy, Trooper Brown, had run from for his life. Now, one of the major things...
It's good to see that the Irish Army has the same problems as the US Army.
This is every army. It's all all
Mm.
about how you spin the story and the kind of the legacy you leave behind. Because, like, I don't know about you, but I'm very proud of our peacekeeping missions.
Yeah.
And to know that they're beginning with such failures,
Mm.
Yeah.
it kind of defeats that idea, you know.
Not necessarily. It's more. Would you rather them be honest about it? But I guess because I didn't realize that for some reason I assumed that the lies and whatever came from the survivors, but now it's coming from the army management. I was trying to wrap my head around that and be like, that's fucking mad. But then that's also the plot of every single film about
To do with war,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
The boys come back and they're trying to tell the true story of what happened out there in the killing fields, and they get the brass.
but
But
it's even
a
that
different tale.
We're probably all guilty of it at some point of making jokes about like the Irish Army and being like, should they're doing nothing fitness tests once a year. And also occasionally when bad things do happen, you're like, well, do you know what? It is a very serious thing.
Yeah,
And
one
they're
of
not
us
too good
is
there.
also guilty of making jokes about them the day that those guys got shot in the Lebanon the other week.
I wasn't guilty of that.
No, it wasn't one of us.
Oh, you mean the comedians?
Yeah, one of
Just
the
mean
comedians.
in the Brotherhood.
Yeah, one of the
God,
Brotherhood.
yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. And there was a guy from the army in that night. It was like the one, because I'd seen that person do that joke a lot, and it gets a laugh, and it was just the 1 week we're like, it's fucking.
Yeah,
It was like the
bad.
day after, wasn't it?
It was the week over, yeah.
I think it was
very,
I think
very
it was like the
close
day
to it.
after, and I was like, look, sure, he probably didn't know. And then Kev was like, he's a journalist. But
yeah.
no, because I have a friend out there currently.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, I have a friend who just got back from there, and he was out there at the time of it. Like,
Yeah.
like we do give him an awful lot of shit all of the time for doing nothing. But then,
The young fella.
no, he did not.
You give your friend a shit.
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Jesus, thank God. I was like,
I'm not that whole like
no.
callous.
I thought you were saying your friend was saying, "Jeez, that young fella never did anything." And he's the one. Like,
Lads, if there was one of us to go,
Just saying.
and he was there saying, "Lads, ye all have families."
You get out of here.
But yeah, so a massive. When they put reports into it, they figured that, like the official reports figured that, the Baloobas didn't know the difference between the UN soldiers and the mercenaries. Like there's a lot of mercenaries working on behalf of Belgian and French and European and American interests,
Yeah.
working for the Katanganese. And the Baloobas were kind of caught in the middle. They were caught between, they didn't want to secede, but they were in Katanga, so they got a lot of hassle off of the Katangan army or whatever they call them, Katangan rebels, and the official army, the official Congolese army, because they were somewhere in the middle, and the people keeping peace for them were the UN. But I had heard from a soldier who was down there at the time, a good friend of my granddad's who was served with him, that and this is an incident that happened, but the details around it might be a little bit murky. So 2 weeks before this ambush happened, a sentry on duty in their camp, they weren't stationed in Niemba, they were stationed in a small outpost very near Niemba. Apparently a Balooba tribe scout, who's only, I think he was 14, and his name is always, I don't know why it always sticks in my head, but his name is Machafali. And he had arrived at the Irish camp, and the sentry on duty told him to go away. You shouldn't be here. And the kid threw his bike at the sentry, and he shot at him, and he grazed his head.
The sentry shot at the kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for throwing the bike at him.
Yeah.
So he got took into the Irish camp for 2 weeks, and they kind of nursed him back to health or whatever, and then returned him to his family. Now, according to somebody I know, I was told that this child was the son of a Balooba chief's son.
Yeah.
And the very next day, this ambush happened. The day
Right.
after he got released. So the idea that they just saw white people, assumed they were mercenaries working for the Katanganese,
Yeah.
I find a little bit hard to believe, because they got blue helmets that say UN on them, you know?
Yeah, but sure, what does
But they wouldn't
UN
know.
mean?
Yeah, to people in a
Well,
village in the middle of harsh
except
terrain.
They're-
to people that they've been living alongside for months.
Yeah.
Once, yeah, I suppose. Okay, so they're going in and like they're keeping peace and doing.
Yeah, the whole idea
missionary
was a
stuff.
lot of the Balooba tribes had been run off the land by local pygmy tribes and local Katanganese forces. And when they tried to go up north further, I believe Katanga's in the south. So when they went further north, they met resistance from the. So a lot of the villages were abandoned, and the local Balooba chiefs came together. But I just think it's a bit of a coincidence that
Yeah.
this ambush happened literally the day after
yeah.
this
Yeah.
kid got released back to his family. So there is an element, there is possibility that this could have been revenge for that, and that in actual fact that the Irish Army had antagonised them into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would it be beyond the Irish Army, knowing that they're already spinning lies about Trooper Brown and his heroic Arnie stories, that they would conveniently leave these details out? And the same for the UN as well, because this would look really bad for the UN.
So you're saying this is like one of the first UN peacekeeping missions?
This is the very first UN peacekeeping
first
mission,
one.
the very first one, yeah.
So it's a real. And what, 1960?
1960, yeah.
Yeah.
But his whole mission was fraught with, like, 9 months after this happened, Jadoville happens, where
Oh,
155 Irish soldiers are pinned down by the Katanganese mercenaries, survive, and for 50 years, 40 or 50 years, those guys by the defence forces were seen as cowards for surrendering. But now we see them as heroes because they held out without any casualties for 3 or 4 days or whatever it was.
And they made the siege of Jadoville.
They made the siege of Jadoville.
which
There's actually a slight mention to Niemba at the very beginning of Siege of
Oh.
Jadoville. Jamie Dornan says, "We're going over there and we're gonna do this for the boys that died 9 months ago."
Ah.
An interesting bit as well is that these guys actually had a bigger funeral than Michael Collins.
When the army came back.
No, the guys who died in Niemba,
Yeah, sorry, when the
bodies were
when the
returned,
bodies came
they
back.
were held in the Baldonnel Aerodrome for a few days.
The Roger
and-
Casement Aerodrome.
That's what it's called now, is it?
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm assuming that there's only one there's the Aerodrome down the road from here.
It's,
The one in Dublin.
It's in Kildare. It's beside
Sorry,
Selbridge.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just outside Dublin.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the Roger.
That's the Roger Casement, yeah. There you go.
For a second there, I thought that you were explaining to Kevin where Kildare was. It's just outside of Dublin.
But yeah,
He's
so
going to the hospital. The hospital, what is it? It's a big building where 6 people go, but that's hardly important right now. But that's the
Roger Casement
Aerodrome.
there's a famous pilot in the Irish Army.
But so sorry, yeah, okay, so they all came back. Now you told me this earlier before we started recording, as a kind of like there was a bigger funeral for them than Michael Collins, but there's 11 of them.
No, but I mean, as in like 10,000 people or more
Yeah.
lined the streets of Dublin.
Divided by 11, because that's
yeah, because
Collins is only one man.
Or 11 or 12 of them.
Either way.
there was nine died. 9 died.
9 died.
Okay, so
Oh,
neither.
sorry, so yeah, but it would have been 8 people buried because one of them wasn't found.
One
for
of
2
them
years.
wasn't found.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Well,
that's
look,
still
no one's travelling up from Carlow.
no.
It's the 8th of December or nothing.
Yeah, that's the only time to go up.
Oh God, that was the worst day of the year growing up in Dublin.
Yeah, now it's just gone because we're allowed to come up whenever we want.
I mean, we should put a ban on that, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'd be on board.
So they all came back. Massive state funeral.
Massive state funeral. Like, I mean, literally O'Connell. Like, there's pictures of O'Connell Street, and it's. You ever see the end of Michael Collins when they show that clip of them bringing his coffin in and stuff like that? It's like that, but on steroids. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, this is something like for such a big state funeral, and for such a like Baloobas being a part of our vocabulary here, particularly in Dublin, but in Ireland. But nobody's ever heard of this ambush.
No,
I think that's crazy.
I
Like,
said it to my parents because they both say Baloobas, and my dad is actually he was saying he just saw the headline of an article the other day about like the origin of the word Baloobas.
Yeah.
It was only, I don't know why it would be in the news again, but yeah, like no one knows why
Yeah.
they say it.
No, like you guys probably never heard of it until I even said it to you.
No, I would have heard Baloobas, but
The
it's just being
Niemba
like, being
ambush,
mad.
yeah. But yeah, so in terms of the peacekeeping mission being a bit of a disaster, as I was saying earlier, like during this, I think the mission finished in 61 or 62. During that time, we had the Niemba ambush, which is our first Irish soldiers being in battle since the Civil War, and 9 people dying. It's the highest loss of life we've had in a single incident in the Irish Army since the Civil War. We had the Siege of Jadaville, kind of, big enough story. And then you also had the thing I told you about earlier, Dag Hammarskjöld, the UN Secretary General at the time. He also got murdered in Katanga, that's crazy. The UN like, could you imagine? Is it Ban Ki-moon now? No, he's not the UN
I
Secretary.
think that was on our CSB.
No, it's Anthony Gutierrez now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abyssinia?
We nearly got it.
Where is Abyssinia? For 12
Ladies and
puts?
gentlemen, we got him.
We got him.
But yeah, so the UN Secretary General getting his plane crashed in Katanga, possibly could have been murdered.
This is cool. I didn't know this bit about it though. This is after.
Yeah, so the Dag Hammarskjöld, I think it's Dag Hammarskjöld. He was I think he was Swedish or Danish, Scandinavian anyway. But yeah, he was murdered by the head of the, apparently, you have to say this now, the CIA blamed.
You have to say this thing now because you can't just
Also, I like how you say apparently. It's allegedly is the one.
allegedly.
No. Definitively.
Yeah, 100% confirmed.
So at the time, Harry Truman, I believe is US president,
Yeah.
himself reckoned he was murdered. The CIA blamed it on the KGB, and it turned out if he was murdered, it was by the Katanganese the head of the Katanganese Air Force was a South African national who held a British passport. And there was like a telegrams, or not a telegram, what did they call it? There was a word for it. They sent a message from he was apparently brokering a peace deal at the time.
Yeah.
And they were afraid that the USSR were going to take over. They were going to they were going to broker the peace deal so that the Katanga wouldn't secede.
Yeah.
And
the USSR would
and
step
the
in.
CIA sent out a message saying he needs to be taken out.
Yeah.
And then a following week, his plane crashes.
That's good.
What a coincidence.
But this is all tied in. We probably won't talk about it in the Casement episode, but yeah, the Roger Casement Aerodrome. Also, the CIA. Because I've been looking for a conspiracy to do with Roger and Dennis. There's not enough in it. Not enough people are obsessed with Irish conspiracies as they could be. But apparently, the Roger Casement Aerodrome just down the road here was a CIA black site.
So what's the black site then?
Basically, where it's like no man's land, where you don't have to adhere to pesky things like the Geneva Convention.
Oh yes,
So
where they like if they need like a safe house to torture someone for a couple of hours.
Yeah, it's
drop them in.
Guantanamo Bay. You can't do that sort of stuff on American soil. You can do it in Guantanamo Bay. But, what happens if you need to lift a lad from
Central Europe or whatever.
or what was that film? Mauritania. You had the little lad from Mauritania, and you don't want to get him the whole way back.
Mauritius?
No, the Mauritanian was that film with
Mandalorian.
yeah, that's it.
The
The Mandalorian. You want to lift the lad from
The
Mandalorian.
Manchurian candidate.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
But you don't want to bring them the whole way back in one fuel trip. You stop off somewhere, but you make it a kind of no man's land black site as well, so that you don't have to. Doesn't matter if any of that stuff's happening on Irish soil because it's technically a CIA site.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then there's but with all these things, there's always unverified stories of I was working there one day just sweeping up and minding my own business, and then this fella came running at me with a black bag strapped onto his head and his hands tied behind his back, and then 6 troops came and lifted him up. Never saw him again. Put him in the back of a highest van and drove it into a plane. But
I don't think that was the CIA. I think that was the general.
maybe. But yeah, apparently the CIA were using it for quite a while, which doesn't really because they had Shannon.
Yeah, they could do what they wanted, Sean.
They could do what they want, yeah. So
Sure, that's where we invented corporate tax.
yeah, that's my new conspiracy now.
And the
is that-
Irish coffee.
And the Irish coffee.
Oh, but is it not invented also in Dublin at the same time?
No,
That-
don't listen to those liars. But yeah, because the tax-free zone in Shannon is that it's technically, no, I don't think it is technically, but it's like a tax-free zone. But maybe it's just a rule-free zone, and you can use it as a black ops site.
We are onto something here.
Maybe, but
I don't think so, but
I don't think so. But it sounds good.
At
It starts
least-
stringing things together.
At least say allegedly.
And a lot of alleged nothing. What was his name? Chuck, the billionaire who set it up from Limerick.
there's
Chuck.
no billionaires from Limerick.
This guy is. He made his money by his big money making scheme was like, what if no one made tax and then he made a fortune? What if no one paid
Is this
tax?
the guy who invented duty free?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because duty free is a brand.
Is
You
it?
know that? Yeah. You know the duty free shops in every airport in the world or
Mm.
whatever. That's actually a shop called duty free.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So
Well,
that's I don't know if I don't know if it's the same guy you're talking about. But
I think it
but
was
it
'cause that
was
was his
invented by an
concept.
Irish person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, if you're getting the boat over to England, side note, amazing duty free deals.
Great
Yes,
deals.
true.
Yeah,
Great deals.
fantastic deals. Often better than the airport. And
So much better.
And
Yeah.
you can book it online and collect it when you get on the boat. Even better deals.
Yeah.
They give you a bigger discount if you book it in advance so they can get it ready for you. You just walk in. Ah, it's fantastic.
You get like a tray for like £9. 24 cans for like €9 or
Amazing.
£9.
I came back from Lisbon there the other day, and the guy in front of me in the queue had like, one
A
of
black
those.
sack over his head.
He
Never
ran
to
at
be
me.
seen again.
I said, "You're in the wrong airport, mate." No, he had like one of those giant like IKEA bags full of cigarettes.
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah.
you see, the problem is you're meant to declare it then.
But
If
he
you
was
get in,
going-
there's only so much you can get in.
Yeah, it's only
Yeah.
two or 400.
Mm.
But he's also going from Lisbon to Dublin, which is
You have to pay tax on.
you're still paying tax.
Yeah.
Do you think he just knew how much it costs to smoke in Dublin? And he
Maybe,
was like,
yeah.
I just
He's
want
like,
to bring
it's still
it up.
worth it. I'm shaving cents off the box here.
And then like he gets to customs and they do that like old dad thing where they make him smoke every cigarette.
That was
But-
Oscar Wilde's classic one. He's trying to smuggle cigarettes into America. Do you have anything to declare?
Only my wit and these 400 smokes.
Only my Winstons.
But I was looking through the notes you sent us for this one, and I saw like some of the action happening around Leopoldville.
Yeah,
and
there's
Elizabethville.
Elizabethville, Leopoldville. I don't think they're called that anymore now. To be fair.
No, I was surprised they were called that in the 60s.
Well, I mean, this was the old name for them. This is the Belgian Congo name for them. So they hadn't. I'd imagine because it seceded in 1960.
Yeah,
So I'd imagine probably took a while to change the names over.
maybe, but that man was I'm getting very excited about doing all this stuff next week. But
He
one of
was
the biggest scumbags going.
Leopold was the worst of them all. Of all
Yeah.
of the colonial powers, the guy physically turned people's hands into currency.
Yeah,
It was worth more. A hand was worth more than what the rubber they were getting out of the trees. So they just cut people's hands off.
yeah.
Crazy
Like it's
stuff.
insane. All the sort of bad things you think about colonizers doing in Africa, like he fucking invented them all.
And Belgium has a crazy history of its formation in that, like,
Yeah,
it's not like England and the UK and or Germany or stuff like that. It doesn't have a proper rich history in Europe. So the only
it's not a real country. I've been saying it since 1835. They don't need to exist.
Yeah, so after the Berlin conference, they were just I don't know. I think they were backed by the British to exist as a buffer state between.
Was it the Berlin Conference? Yeah, it was
The
back.
Berlin conference is when they carved up Africa.
Yeah, but Belgium was invented in like the 1840s maybe. 30s
Yeah,
or
the
40s.
Belgian conference. I think
The Berlin Conference is when they carved it all up.
that was in
and-
1885.
Yeah, that would have been much later, and for whatever reason, we'll get into it more next week. But for whatever reason, Leopold was allowed own the Congo himself. Not
not the Yes, that was
the
it,
rest
yeah.
of it was carved up, and like Ivory Coast was a French colony or whatever. But the Congo was personal property of Leopold II, and not beholden to.
Yeah, because I think the reason why the UK backed Belgium to exist as a state was like as a buffer between the Netherlands, France,
Yeah,
and Germany or whatever.
Whatever, yeah, it's
Prussia,
in there,
the German. What we now know as Germany. I think it was the German Confederation at the time.
yeah, back
Or
when it was
German-
invented.
I
Yeah.
can't remember the names of them.
And the Spanish now. The British are just like, what if you all just fucking put another country in there? It won't affect us whatsoever, but
Yeah,
it'll keep
yeah.
you all annoyed for a while.
Also, another side note as well is that in Switzerland's formation, when Switzerland was formed as a country, and they were designated to stay for the same reason to stay neutral, because it would act as a buffer around all those countries. And the UK backed it by saying, "Oh yeah, we'll provide your naval, your naval protection, despite
We're
being a
massively
landlocked country."
Yeah, we got your back.
Yeah, we got your back with the navy. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, and then the funny thing was, it's all
We'll
funny.
protect those ports for you.
In World War One, they used a lot of propaganda when Germany did the very unsportsmanlike thing and went through Belgium to get to France to invade. And a lot of that's kind of like what the British government used on the British people to justify going to war.
Our
Like,
Belgian brethren.
Our best friends, poor, and there's all these posters and stuff from the time of like Belgium as a small damsel and the grey Hun coming in and stamping over. But like this is all after it. Congo.
sure.
And all the horrible things that they've done.
But is
Yeah.
that where
And they're seen as like a defenseless, poor little waif of a country.
is
that
that
they've been
where
invented.
I'd go through
Did
you for
somebody
a
get
shortcut
invaded?
came from?
Maybe actually, yeah. That's a real only because you used Dan Carlin, the histories.
Yeah.
You're gonna say horrible histories.
No.
I
Maybe.
do love horrible history.
Yeah.
It's
Horrible
great.
history.
Yeah,
And the
underrated.
TV show is.
The
Mm.
guy that did the history podcast, Dan Carlin. Did I?
Hardcore history.
Hardcore history. There's a massive history podcast.
See, I knew it was.
I
Yeah.
mentioned them.
Horrible
No,
hardcore
you
history.
just said that the funeral or the pictures on O'Connell Street are like something on steroids, and that's it. Like he has a lot of phrases he uses a lot, but on steroids is one of them. Maybe like, and they came at him again. But he has a great description of it's just the German army walking through Belgium that time, and at the start the Belgians are coming out and they're like, oh, we've never seen so many. It's a horror. It's just like man after man of grey uniforms, and he says it goes on for like days, and to the point where they just get like not bored, but they're like, well, it's only so long you could be shocked. Like, when is it going to end? And they just keep walking through. Like no one's ever seen an army like this before.
I mean-
at that point in history.
I mean, we could probably say the same thing. Like, I mean, how many times can you get obsessed? How many 100 years can you get obsessed about the Brits being in here?
I know.
you know.
800.
It's 800 of them, and we're still giving out about it. Get
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah, they've been gone for it's like a couple of
Hun-
months at this
A couple
point.
of months. they just won't leave Tampa Bar.
Yeah.
That's like their consulate.
But yeah, the Congo's yeah, I didn't realize before a couple of months ago our
Oh, it's like,
interesting connections to the place.
yeah, and like I think it's a nice culmination that like our strong links to them ends with the football jerseys.
Yes.
Culminates with the football jerseys. I
Yeah,
should say.
yeah.
And again, straight back. They're not like any guard jersey you've ever seen.
Oh, they're
No.
amazing. And it's interesting that they don't have the 3 stripes like O'Neill's have now, because that's O'Neill's are only allowed to use that in Ireland. So Adidas don't sue them. So even though that they
yeah.
make the jerseys for the Congo, that they have to only use 2 stripes on those ones.
Okay.
It's the same with the Supermax thing here as well, isn't it?
No, because Supermax won that.
Well, yeah, but
Court
O'Neill's
case.
also beat Adidas to that as well. But
Oh, really?
the settlement they reached on was that you can only use the 3 stripes in Ireland, which is
Okay.
primarily where they used them anyway for the
That's
guard
true.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
I
in
think
place,
McDonald's lost the Mick thing all across Europe apparently over the Supermax case.
Yeah,
Good.
but
Yeah.
you wouldn't see an old Supermax up in Belfast.
No, but it meant that anyone else could use the Mick, like Burger King could use Mick Whopper.
Yeah,
In
but they
Germany,
won't-
if
but
they
they
want.
I need a
wouldn't. though.
McWhopper.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't, I guess. There was that one lad.
I think I've seen pictures of them that they did it for the
just
like,
for the laugh.
for the fun of it. Yeah,
What is
Novelty.
it? So,
just like they changed all their names.
As soon as
to be
the
like the
laws
Mick
were-
Whopper, the Mick whatever, just to be like fuck you.
It was like that one lad who set up a store, like a burger shop in America, and called it McDonald's, but MAC Donald's. And so
Yeah.
everything was just the exact same. Like, you can't tell me not to call it a Big Mac. My name's actually Mac.
Yeah.
or have you ever seen Coming to America where he works in McDowell's burger joint?
Oh, well, I've known he works in a
Yeah,
burger place.
it's called McDowell's, and it's got like slightly misshapen arches,
Ha.
and everything is tartan. Instead of being red and yellow, it's like white tartan or black or red tartan,
Mm.
and they do like the McDowell's big McDowell burger or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I know
Where
that
did Arsenio? Where were they? What country was he coming from?
A made up country.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the name of it. I heard it again recently. It is made of country.
Abyssinia.
That was it. Abyssinia, yeah.
I blew my load too early. I couldn't wait.
Yeah, you had the perfect
Abyssinia Hole.
Abyssinia.
We had a place in Carlow called the Roadhouse that it just but it stole everything from Eddie Rockets. Like basically it's the exact same.
Well,
It's
they
just
stole it from every 50s diner.
Well, I found out that they stole it. There's actually a place in America that's like a chain that people don't really want to go to called Johnny Rockets.
Johnny Rockets
Oh.
is Eddie Rockets. It's the same thing.
It's just, yeah, but so Eddie Rockets just must have bought the.
I think they franchised and changed name. Sure, it's the same with Chicken Hut in Limerick is KFC. It's the original KFC recipe.
It's the recipe for the gravy, but it's not. They didn't. I don't think they franchised it.
It was originally a KFC franchise, and then when the Colonel got bought out, Pat Grace wouldn't give in to the demands of the new KFC, so we had to change it to Pat Grace's fried chicken, and also supported League of Ireland in the 70s.
Fair play to him. We were down there not so long ago doing a gig, and
It's overhyped.
It's overhyped. It is.
It's nice though.
It's good. Do you know what's better?
Hillbillies.
Hillbillies in Cork. Gary, I love you.
And I tell you,
Hillbillies is here as well. It's up down the road.
there's one in Moccastown and one in Fairview.
Yeah.
But
It is better,
Hillbillies was founded by John Grace, Pat Grace's cousin, and they have a slightly altered version of the original KFC recipe.
Damn.
You can buy Pat Grace's recipe. You can buy like the flavorings or whatever online, and it's meant to be like mad expensive. But it's the proper original KFC.
This is like
Shit.
the was it the yeast or whatever they have, the hops from in the Guinness
Don't talk
factory.
about your girlfriend like that.
Oh.
But in the
I
Guinness
was just
factory
thinking
that they're like
a
this.
bakery called the Yeast or Rising.
The yeast are rising.
Oh.
Do you remember
What were
earlier
you
on when
saying?
we were talking about an ambush where a load of men died?
That's done now. It was a very good story.
Yeah, I don't think I left anything out in that, did I?
You'd be the man to know.
Yeah, I've had about fucking 5 of these though.
Where'd you get 5? I've seen you've had 2.
This is my third one.
Oh really? Well, so that's 3.
3 is closer to 5 than 2.
It's 2.5 because that one's still half there. But Gene Vincent in 1955-56 released a song called Baloobas.
Is it spelled the same way, Balooba?
BE-BOB-A-LULA. Baloobas, she's mad. And I thought when I googled it first, the first ones that come up are.
We all sang that earlier on when we were doing levels.
Yeah, that's why I was singing it.
Yeah.
He brought it up earlier.
You're quick.
No, but I thought that's what we were doing. You're bringing it up now.
Oh, but that wasn't being recorded though, was it?
I think it might be in there. I
Oh,
hope
okay.
so, yeah.
Well, this because the song came out like 4 or 5 years before this happened, and I
ju-
thought it was related because when the first things
So
that
you
come up,
think he was in on it?
well, the first things that come up are it being sung at the Olympia and
Sung at the
Mungo
Olympia?
Jerry doing a cover of it, and I thought, geez, maybe it's an Irish song, and maybe it was inspired, but I don't know.
Mungo Jerry's not Irish.
Is Mungo Jerry not Irish?
English or American.
Really?
We just use it as a
We-
euphemism for something else.
Yeah. A pair of Mungo Jerry's, because I thought he was Irish. Who am I thinking of?
You're thinking of my friend Mungo, who's Irish.
No,
whose
I'm
dad's name
thinking
is
of Jerry Fish.
I was going to
Jerry
say
Fish.
Yeah,
Fish.
yeah. I'm thinking of
I
Jerry
was saying
Fish
as a
and the
joke,
Mug
though.
Bug.
The Mudbug
and the
Club.
Mudbug and the Mudblood Club.
Yeah, that's
Goddamn Mudbloods.
It's like Mungo Jerry had like a song about July.
No,
that's
that
you're-
was Monday.
That's
Monday.
Monday. What else have I gotten mixed up?
Monday, Mungo Jerry and Jerry Fish and the Mudblood
Walk
Club.
into a bar.
And 100 Baloobas are waiting for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any other notes?
No.
Are we off to Rascals to get pizza?
No, that was a very good story. And yeah, at some point
You
this
would-
year I'm hoping
Sorry,
to go
that's
to-
the other thing. So I had originally planned to make all this into a documentary, and that's
Yes.
how I've done the research on it. And I was doing a different. From my masters, I was doing a documentary about this small, little known museum in Arbor Hill called IUNVA, Irish United Nations Veterans Association. It's like a normal VA for Irish soldiers who've been in the UN, obviously.
Yeah.
And my granddad's medals got inducted there, and then when I was making the documentary, a friend of my granddad's told me about the son of the Balooba chief.
Yeah.
And my aim with the documentary was so at the site of where the ambush happened, there's like an 8-foot tall cross that hasn't been tended to in now 63 years, and it's
Yeah.
just lying there dormant. I think about at this stage probably would have been about 7 years ago, some Irish there's still a couple of UN and Irish Army stationed in parts of the Congo, but they made an expedition out and they found it again because it's been lost. Essentially, it's like a Indiana Jones artifact or something at this stage. So my hope was to repatriate it back to Glasnevin, to the grave.
Bring the cross back.
Yeah. But then COVID happened, and now I work at a comedy club.
Jesus Christ, what a
what a sad end to them.
such noble goals.
I like how you'd said I work at a comedy club instead of I work with you two. Fucking.
Yeah, I wouldn't lower myself to letting the public know that. Thanks for that, Jason.
We can do a whip around next after the next gig.
Whip round ticket.
An Irish whip
Send
around.
this young man to go repatriate the cross. So that museum's in Arbor Hill, like down the road from here.
Yeah. Just I think I think it. I could be wrong, but I think it's St. Peter's Church in Arbor Hill, next to the prison. For the paedophiles, and then
it's a prison for paedophiles. That wasn't you giving a shout out to all of our paedophile listeners.
Yup, the paedophiles.
Yeah.
But now next to the prison, there's this church, and then just at the back of the church, it's just around from the Lilliput Press and all that.
Yeah.
And that's where you were talking recently about football special. That's where they sell football special as well.
It's in there. In the maze between. Yeah, like Arbor Hill and Stony Batter.
In around that area.
Yeah.
There's like a wall dedicated to Irish fallen soldiers or something that has the proclamation on it with a big cross. And just next to that, there's this little... They've actually only recently done up the museum. I have to go in and visit it again.
Yeah.
And they've got like all the original uniforms that the soldiers would have worn in the Congo, and like you just look at it and you start scratching. They look that itchy.
Just so itchy.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
And they got their machine guns, and they have letters that these soldiers would have sent home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All donated by former soldiers. And if you want to go in, they do great little tours. You can just pop in. They're all
We
really
should go
nice.
down.
And if you use the discount code SHITE10,
They'll ask you, what the fuck is wrong with
it's
you?
It's actually free. It's free to just go in. They're soldiers are. I don't know if you know many soldiers, but they're not bunch. They love telling you stories, and they love when you show an interest in them. And
Yeah. I can imagine you
they're like
went
puppies.
But you went through such a traumatic event, a world away, and you just want to try and explain to people.
as opposed to comedians, that if you show any interest in them,
Yeah.
they'll shut up straight away. They won't start telling you everything they've ever done.
Yeah.
But I mean, like with these guys, it's not even that because, no offense to the Irish soldiers, but it's not quite like that. In that, because we're peacekeepers more, so we don't really, these kind of tragic events are few and far between, thankfully.
Yeah.
But these guys want to honor the memory of those that have fallen, like these guys in the Niemba and stuff like this, and make sure that they tell their story. And again, there is a massive disconnect between the kind of lower class rank and file soldiers and the more upper echelons, the officers and the higher ups again of the defense forces, and they really are at odds with each other. And that's the biggest thing I've taken away from this, is that these guys you talk to with the rank and file, they fucking hate the higher ups in the defense forces, because it's politics more when you get to that level, the higher levels.
Yeah.
And for these guys, it's not even a livelihood; it's a calling.
Mm.
That's why the only people I will forgive wearing a poppy in this country are Irish soldiers, because they have like a massive thing with the British Legion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My
father was killed by a poppy.
poppy.
There was a woman called Poppy. But he did owe her money, in fairness. But
Fair, yeah.
no, that's fair. Yeah, it'd be good to go down to the museum. Because that'd be round the corner from Collins Barracks.
You just want to go get football special.
Yes, that's true. And there's also a really good chip shop there. An authentic old chip shop near Stony Batter.
What's it called?
I can't remember. Something interesting. And
Roberto's, world famous.
no, that wasn't it.
The one at the bottom near the criminal courts is meant to be one of the best chippers in Dublin, though. It's not far from here.
Yeah, that one is like the Roma.
I think it's a Romeo's.
Yeah, Romeo's.
But that's meant to be the best one.
Yeah, you can. Well, you can go to Nancy Hands, have a few pints, and get Romeo's brought.
They let you bring it in?
Oh, they sure do. They also let you smoke inside. The last time I was in there, or at least like
in 2002.
I was there not that long ago, and there was
Allegedly.
there was a woman in there drinking the head of herself, about our age, and now they didn't entertain her for long, when she started smoking inside, but they certainly handled it with softer gloves than if I had started smoking inside. It was like a Monday or Tuesday. It was a quiet enough night, but she was just in there fucking. She was getting more and drunk. She was going every time she went out. She'd come over and talk to us to ask her to mind her pint. But that conversation kept getting longer and longer, and then eventually she was like, "Fuck this! I'm smoking inside." And they gave her several chances.
That's just somebody straight off the train from a dirty weekend down in Leitrim.
I don't know. She was going through some stuff, but
because we're good, like down the country, we're good with it. You just have to wait until like 11:30 or if the weekend, like 12, 12:30, and then
Then the
you're
rules are
smoking
gone.
until 5 o'clock.
is there anything you want to plug then before the end of this episode?
Just the
Apart from
Halfpenny
your-
Bridge Comedy Club 4 nights a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday in Temple Bar. The boys don't do it enough on my behalf, so that's
Yeah,
what I'm here
yeah.
to plug.
Well, perfect.
That and the
Yeah.
Congo. Go check out those jerseys; they're amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are class. I'll post a link to that on the Instagram.
class. Well, thanks, Gary.
Thanks
Yeah,
for having
cheers,
me
I
on.
was gonna say usually we like tag people, but you don't want that.
No, I've got more of a private. Tag
Yeah,
the club.
yeah.
Tag the
We'll
club.
tag the club. Yeah, and you can come see Gary and tell him all about.
You come to the club and pay me money to be in my presence and not watch me get on stage, but give out to you for talking.
Class. But yeah, right. Well, listen. Thanks for coming on. It's
Thanks
good
for
luck.
having me, boys.
Yeah, shafter.